The next group that will present their capstone project is coming from DICT 32, and the title of their system project is the usability of the Bling emergency and hotline assistance application in emergency situation. So guys, you can start your presentation whenever you are ready. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone, the actors and our classmates. And we are the students of Institute of Technology Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And we are the Group 3 in the ICT 32. And we are presenting the usability of the Bling emergency and hotline assistant application in emergency situation. Introduction of our presentation will be discussed by our member.
Introduction of our application. So, what is the Bling app? So, the acronym of the Bling app is the Basic Life-Saving Instructions and Nearby Emergency Services Guide. And as you can see on the right side of the screen, that is our application. So, our goal is to create the best companion app that can be used by Filipinos during disasters, accidents, and emergencies. But so traditionally, in if there is a scenario, uh, for example, there is a fire in your vicinity, you have to open your Google and look for the fire station or the emergency hotline that you need in order to call for help. And in that instance, you'll have to take a mere minute or more than that in order to call for help. So with the Bling application, the application itself will minimize that problem to allow the users to be able to call the emergency hotline in less than a minute or more in a mere seconds. But so in order to do that, we are faced with the research problems that will be answered in the study and the development of the application. So first is we have to determine if how can the Bling application be developed to be usable during an emergency in terms of A, reducing the time it takes for a user to quickly identify and contact the closest emergency services in times of an emergency. B, impose a high level of accuracy in making legitimate or valid emergency calls. C, ensure that the user will be able to select the correct first aid procedure in an event of an accident. And D, be capable to be accessible anywhere without the need for an internet connection. So for statement number 2, we have the what is the level of usability of the Bling emergency and hotline assistance application in terms of A, efficiency, effectiveness, accessibility, and reliability based on the user's feedback and in emergency situation. So this will be based on the feedback of the user. And for the number 3, does the demographics and level of familiarity with technology of the respondents affect the usability of the application? So in order to determine this question, we are going to ask the respondents who will test the application for their familiarity with technology and also their age. So let us proceed with the scope and limitations.
And continue with the scope and limitation. Ang aming scope and limitation ay yung user information na collected sa aming application ay kailangan para sa purpose na ma-access nila ang full accessibility ng aming Bling app. And ang survey questionnaire namin ay makukuha sa Google Form at ang collection nito sa feedback para sa functionality ng aming application. And gumamit rin kami ng Android Studio for the front-end and back-end development ng Bling application. At nag-integrate din kami ng API para sa purpose na maglagay kami ng text-to-speech, speech-to-text, at chatbot sa aming application. Ang ibang information na hihingin ng aming app ay ang health information ng user na maaari niyang ilagay sa ICE picture na makikita mamaya sa aming video presentation. At accessible lang itong mga feature health information na ito kapag running at open yung aming application. At may API kami na nagdetermine ng current location ng user or yung kanyang GPS para magamit ang isa pang feature ng aming Bling. At nire-record nito ang data tools na kinakailangan ng user na gumamit ng internet para ma-access itong feature na ito. Ang lahat po ng covered hotlines ng aming Bling ay nasa loob lamang ng NCR, including na rin po yung mga government hotlines. At ang mga pawang gagamit lang din po ng aming application ay nasa loob ng National Capital Region. Dito po, yung student and parents, makakatulong po sa kanila, mabibenefit po sa kanila po dahil mostly po, nagkakaroon po ng mga risk, mga emergency during sa loob ng eskwelahan at possible din sa loob ng bahay. Lalo din po sa mga employees, mabe-benefit din po sila kasi po, lalo na po yung mga sa outfield or mga sa construction site, talagang prone po sila sa mga accidents. And lastly, mga government at emergency department is mapapalapit or mapapabilis namin yung connection ng kanilang pagtawag sa kanila ng mga user namin kasi naka-indicated na sa application namin yung mga hotline numbers nila. Tapos mas mabilis lang matatawagan.
So to sum up our research instrument, random sampling method was used to gather the respondents. We asked 50 respondents if they would like to participate in the survey, and from there, we had randomly selected 30 respondents to test and to answer our survey or to test our application. So we have made a pre-survey and a post-survey. On pre-survey, we have gathered the demographics of the users, and on the post-survey, we have gathered the feedback of the users that had tested the application.
And for our system architecture, so yung user, once na-access na user yung aming application is mapupunta siya sa sign up and login activity. And yung sign up is mas-save yung data niya sa aming database, which is yung Firebase. And yung Firebase din yung mag-handle ng authentication kapag nag-login na user. So kapag successful yung login na user is ma-redirect siya sa main activity. And sa main activity namin is meron kaming chatbot application. And ang aming chatbot is tumatanggap lamang ng speech to text as an input and mag-undergo siya ng process sa response selector and magre-reply siya ng text to speech sa user. Ang purpose ng chatbot namin is ma-assist yung user and ma-navigate yung emergency services and present emergency manual. So sa emergency services namin is meron kami nearby locations. Ito yung hospitals, police station, fire station, at LGU emergency hotline. So yung nire-render na data ng aming nearby locations is Google Map API yung nagpo-provide nito. And specifically, nearby search API, geocoding API, and Thesis API yung ginagamit namin. So for the emergency manual, we have text-to-speech manual and visual manual. So yung ginamit naming first aid manual or study is from the American College of Emergency Physicians, 5th edition, first aid manual. Then in-integrate namin siya ng text-to-speech API para ma-implement namin yung first aid reader na aming feature. Then ICE information is meron siyang functionality na create info, update info, and delete info. And nakikipag-communicate din siya sa aming database, which is yung Firebase. So yung mga information na ginawa ng user is pupunta sa notification manager para makapag-generate ng notification bar na magagamit na isa rin na feature ng aming system. So for the next diagram.
So our context diagram shows that the application serves as a medium for interaction between the users and the application service, which is the function of finding nearby services. So the user provides the data input for login and registration, chatbot interaction through voice recognition, and usage of nearest emergency function. The application on our context diagram interacts with the user through the chatbot and buttons on the interface. So it also gives the user a first aid instructions and response for the request of finding nearest emergency services.
Ito po yung data flow diagram namin. Tapos ito po yung designs para sa level 1. And ito po yung level 2 ng aming data flow diagram. Tapos dito po is yung apat na external factor, yung user, admin, at yung dalawang institution na tatawagan ng hotlines. And dito po is kailangan ng mag-process sa registration para magkaroon ng account, tapos login yung user, tapos ma-access na nila yung chatbot response at yung profile management. At dun sa profile management, pwede lang ma-adjust yung kanilang personal health information at yung kanilang profile display. And doon naman sa chatbot response process is pwede silang mag-request ng information at bibigyan sila ng instruction and visual ng aming app. And then, kapag magre-request naman sila ng hotline is doon naman makuha naman sa Google Cloud. At kapag nag-request na sila ng hotline is dediretso na silang i-direct call doon sa tinawagan nila specifically. And sa admin naman is kailangan nila mag-login sa Firebase para tignan yung mga database dashboard ng mga user doon sa Firebase. At ayun po ang data flow diagram.
So for the use case diagram, our application is called Bling, and we have two primary actors, which are user and the admin. So for the user, if the user have an account, they can already log in. And if the user doesn't have an account, they can register in the application. So for the register, it has extended relationship for the display login error because sometimes users provide invalid input. And there's also include relationship pointing to login because once they registered, they can already proceed to the login. So in the login, as you can see, verify authentication is included in the process of login. And it also has extended relationship for the display login error in case the user provide incorrect username or password. So once the user logged in, they have options on what to do in our application. First, they can view nearest services. And in this use case, they can view emergency selection, and also dial emergency hotlines. Second, users can view instruction set, wherein they can also view emergency selection and view visual procedures. Third, users can view their profile, and with that, they can update their ICE information. So as you can see in these three use cases, it includes a chatbot because this feature is usable in all the use cases I have mentioned. And another option for the users, they can also view ICE widget in their notification bar, and they can also view it through their lock screen. And proceeding to the next actor, which is the admin. Admin can also log in from the application, and for the database, they can log in Firebase. Once they log in the Firebase, they can view the user's information, and with that, they can create new information and delete user information in the database. And that's for the use case diagram.
So we won't be discussing the results and discussion of our study. We will now proceed with the video presentation of the application to give more time. Thank you.
So, setting up an account through signing up, to be able to log in into our app, the user needs to set up an account first. So, by filling up the required fields such as full name, email, and an appropriate password. So, the advantages of using email instead of user ID, it's one less field to fill out. So, instead of having separate field for email and username, so email address is unique and easy to remember than username, and you don't need to worry if a username is taken. So it will also avoid redundancy or duplicate account for one person. So upon signing up, the user is required to check the verification through the registered email and clicking the verification link. So after the verification, the user can now log into the application and will be redirected to the nearest services interface.
So on the nearby emergencies, we have four categories, which are the healthcare, fire station, and LG hotlines. So in healthcare, is merong mga pinpoint na nagre-represent ng nearby emergency malapit sa location. And kapag kinlik siya, it will show more info about the contacts of that specific place. So beside the contact is a call button, which it will redirect you to the call dialer UI. While police station and fire station category has also the same functionality with the healthcare. So in LGU hotlines, it's built differently compared to the other two. LGU hotline renders the hotline services available in your current municipality. For the first aid manual, we have a total of 10 categories, which are categorized based on their similarities in terms of the aid, risk, and damage to the casualty. So here is this example of one of the first aid, and here's the text-to-speech feature. So the visual representation of the first aid. And the shortcut button to the nearby hospitals. We also provided a user manual for the chatbot. It includes there the keywords that they can use to communicate with their chatbot application. Chatbot will accept speech input, and it will also reply a speech to the user. Darren.
So providing an in case of emergency information. So the user can add, modify, or delete ICE information on my account page. Upon successful registration and login, the user is required to put their ICE information by clicking Put My ICE Info button. So they can also modify their information by clicking Change My Info button and remove it by clicking Remove My Info button. So the user can also set the ICE notification on or off by going to my ICE page and clicking the toggle. So by enabling the notification, the information displayed in my ICE page will be put on the notification panel for easier reference of info for both the user and the responder. So about and help page are also a part of our application. About page contains our team's mission and attributions. Help page contains basic guides and troubleshooting tips. And they can also sign out into our application.
So now we will now present on how to use our application in emergency situation. So for nearby services, for example, there is a fire breakout near in your place. So the first thing that you would do is to open the application and go to fire station category and select the nearest fire station and tap the call button. So based on the demonstration, we can conclude that our application have the capability to call the fire station hotline in just a matter of seconds. Next is the first aid manual. So example naman is may na-drown na tao, hindi niya ma-applyan ng CPR. So first thing to do is to select the CPR. Then if the user doesn't know the CPR, they can use our chatbot application to redirect them to the CPR page. So in performing CPR, both your hands are busy and mahirapan ka magbasa ng first aid instruction while doing it. So that's when you can use the first aid manual reader. And the visual representation of the CPR in case na hindi alam ng user kung paano i-position yung kamay dun sa casualty.
So using the ICE notification bar. So by going to my ICE page, the user can enable or disable the notification for ICE information. My ICE page also contains important information about the user. So the notification panel will consist of two parts, medical information and in case of emergency information. The notification is accessible through lock screen. It will display its information by means of expanding the notification. The user can call his or her first contact person by using the button at the bottom of the notification panel. And the emergency hotline is also accessible at the bottom of the notification panel as well. So that sums up our presentation. Thank you for listening.
So we proceed again. We proceed again to the next group under 3.2, the ICT 3.2, title, The Usability of the Bling, Emergency and Hotline Assistance Application in Emergency Situation. Ayan. So, Sir Libunaw, dahil kayo po ang pinaka bago pa lang fresh katatanong.
Thank you, ma'am. No, not question, but more on observation. There's no interaction between with your module with regards to hospital and the end user. No, let's say ambulance. No, okay. So it's an emergency. You should contact an ambulance. When will the ambulance arrive? No, it's good that you have videos representing first aid. No, okay. What's this CPR? That's very good. No, okay. But you can just polish on that. No, okay. More on you're not going to touch anything on the phone. No, if it's CPR, it should direct you on how to do it. No, okay. But it's more on the interaction between hospital, the nearest hospital, and the end user. Okay, upon the arrival of the ambulance. No? bottom line is the ambulance no? Because it's an emergency. That's it.
Sir, thank you po sa suggestion.
Ayan. So, Sir Fajardo.
Mine is actually also an observation kasi in connection with the video about the CPR, parang did you guys consider the safety side of those who kasi yes, anyone can probably perform CPR, but it should be trained. It should be trained person. So, yun lang. Parang how can we be assured that the user can be able to perform the procedure properly? Because you're dealing with life.
Sir, regarding po sa CPR is, yung sa CPR po namin kasi is kinuha po namin siya sa existing na manual guide ng first aid po, and then sinabi rin po sa amin na priority po talaga yung CPR, and then para po namin is galing po siya sa manual guide, and meron po siyang magkakaibang CPR kasi po meron pong ibang step by step para po sa adult, sa bata at sa sanggol, at meron din pong CPR din po doon na para sa chest compression only lang po. So ayun po yung ginawa po namin para po yung if ever po yung user is wala po siyang idea sa first aid, or at least registered po siya at parang medyo nakaligtaan niya lang po yung kung paano yung first aid, pero kailangan niya lang po i-recall, is ayun po makakatulong po sa kanila yung application once na mabasa nila or during pag-apply po ng CPR. Ayun.
Thank you.
Thank you din po, sir.
Thank you very much, DICT 32. We have completed the first half of the batches. So, to our reactors, thank you very much po.